Hello everyone. So in the last video we created our form and we were able to pass down data from our form into our actual invoice that we could now display it on the screen. So what I want to do in this video is I want to style out the form so that it looks much better, because as you can see right here, this is looking quite horrendous and you can't really tell the difference between the inputs and the labels, and you can't really tell the difference between one input and the other. So I'm going to go over into my app.js, and then in app.js I'm going to scroll down to my form, which begins right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these two inputs, and actually let me explain what I want to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the name and the address, and I'm going to place them inside one div so that I can display flex on them, or at the grid, and they're going to appear side by side. And then the email, the website, and the phone are going to be one grid as well, or rather three grids. That should be correct. And then the bank account and the bank account number, the bank name and the bank account number are going to be one on one line. That's what I mean. And then the client name, client address on one line, the invoice on one line, and then the additional notes are going to be on the bottom. And you know what, actually let me begin by going into index.css, and then in index.css let me just go above the button, and then let me grab all the inputs, input, as well as the text area, and let's just say background color, set this to F1 so they just appear just a bit darker. And then let's say padding of 5 pixels at the top and bottom, and you know, let me not use pixels, let me say 0.3 rem on the top and bottom, and 0.5 rem on the left and right, like so. Let's say border radius of 0.2 rem. Let's see, is there border radius? Yes, there is a very slight border radius. And then let's say margin bottom of 1 rem, too big, let's say it's 0.8. okay, that's a bit more manageable. And then above this, let's target the labels, let's say margin bottom of 0.2 rem, just to push it just a bit downwards from the input. That's a bit too small, let's say 0.3. I think that's a bit better. Our form is already looking much better, right? And now let me add the padding on the top. Let me say 0.5, and actually this is now repeating myself, so we can just remove one of these and it's 0.5 all around. Fantastic. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to target the placeholder on the value, or the value rather, of the text area and the input. And let's change this color to a very slight gray. F1. Let's change it into a very slight gray. Let me see how this looks. No, too unreadable, still a bit unreadable. That should be fine. Okay, let's say font weight, set this to bold. No, let's say 600 should be fine. Yeah, 600 is fine. Let's say letter spacing of 1 pixel. Okay, no, that's too, no, let me not add that, it looks horrible. Let's go into our labels. Let's change the font size of our labels to 1.1 rem, make them a bit bigger. Let's say font weight of bold. I'm not sure I like that. I'm not sure whether I like that. Let's change this color to hash 112827827. It's a kind of like almost like a dark gray. And then let's see, we have, I think this is a bit too big. This is a bit too big. Let's say 0.8. okay, no 1.05. okay, so we have that for labels. Now I can go back into app.js, and let me grab this first one and the second one. And actually, you know what, I just realized something here. Enter your bank name. This needs to be spaced out just a bit. I hope I remember to change that. Now I'm going to grab these two, so the label, the first two inputs, I'm going to cut them out and place them inside an article, like so. And then inside this article, this is probably going to backfire because these are two elements. This is one element and this is another. So let me show you how it's going to backfire. If I try to add a class name of grid and grid columns 2, this is what happens. Could you just work, please? Okay, this is what happens. See that? Now I don't want this to happen. Instead, what I want to happen is I want the name here, and actually let me change this to your full name instead of enter your name. So let's say your full name. Okay, so that is going to be the error, and in order to fix it, then we're going to have to do a bit more refactoring where I'm going to grab this first one, place it inside a div, and then grab this second one here and place it inside another div, and then now it should be fine. So enter your name, enter your address. Still not the best because I want now this text to appear on top and then the input on the bottom. So that would mean that I go inside this div and inside this div as well, give this a class name of flex column, and there we go. And then now we can do here is add a grid gap. Okay, so this is looking much better, and I've just realized something where if we try to make this into a smaller screen, then this happens. Okay, so I don't want this grid to appear on small screens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this into MD, and that should only apply on small screens, on medium screens, sorry. So right around here, and that is much better. Okay, and the reason why I've only added on the first one is because these other styles only apply when this one is applied. Okay, that's the rule of the display grid. These other styles can't apply when display grid is not on the element. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of cutting and pasting, and let me just close this. And where does it start? Can't remember. Okay, it is. So we're going to grab these three, so this first one, the second one, and the third one. We're going to cut them out and place them inside an article like so. And then we're going to do this. We're going to grab this, place it inside a div, and then grab this second one, place it inside a div, and then finally grab this third one and place it inside the div. And then we're going to go inside this article, and actually, you know what, instead of typing it out, I can just copy these class names. So copy this inside here, and then on the first div, on the second div, and on the third div, I'm going to give this a class name of flex and flex dash column. Okay, and if you're having trouble following along with the cutting and pasting, then you can just check the link in the description for the GitHub repository. And let's see. So this is going to be that. And actually, you know what? This is not going to be a grid of 2. This is a grid of 3. So that we're going to have that. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. I've just realized that. Let me add a bit more margin on here. Margin bottom. Change it to 1 rem. Let's change it to 2 rem. Just so that there's a bit more margin here, right? So next one is bank name and bank account. So let's go back inside here, and I've just remembered to change this into bank name like so. So let's grab this first one and the second one, which ends right here, place it inside an article, and then let's grab this first input, cut it out, place it inside a div, and then grab this second label and input, place it inside another div. And then inside this article, let's give this a class name of MD grid and the grid columns -2 with a gap of 10. Okay, so that we're going to have that. And then this first div and the second div, we're going to give this a class name of flex and flex dash column. There we go. So we have that. So 1, 2, 3. Probably this isn't the best looking UI. But the reason why I'm grouping them like this is because the full name and the address kind of match up, right? Like you'd want them to go together. And then email, website, and phone, they also match up. And then bank name and bank account, they match up. That's why I'm doing it like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab this label and input and this second one. Place it inside an article like so. and then grab this first one, place it inside the div, grab this second one, place it inside the div, and then let's go inside this article. Let's give this a class name of md grid and grid columns just 2 with a gap of 10. Go inside this first div, and then inside the second div give this a class name of flex and flex dash column, like so. Oh, and I've just realized I filled in this data. I just filled it in so that it doesn't look all that empty. Okay, and now being like this, and you know what, let me once again change these colors. Sorry for jumping around a lot. Let me grab this and paste it here, and then let me change this color to a lighter one. Did that even do anything? Did that do anything? Okay. Just confirm. So just a bit later, so it brings a bit of a hierarchy. And okay, you know what, I think the reason why it looks a bit too crowded is because of this font bold. So let me change this to 600. And then let me remove this from here. Yeah, probably I think that would look much better. It's a bit easy on the eyes. So let's grab the invoice number, invoice date, and due date. Go back inside here. Let's go here. Grab this first one, second one, and the third one. Cut it out. Place it inside an article. Grab this first one. Place it inside a div. Grab this second one. Place it inside another div, and then grab this third one. Place it inside another div. Let's grab this third div, this second div, and this first one. Give this a class name of flex and flex dash column, and then let's go inside the article here. Give this a class name of md grid and grid columns dash 2 and a grid gap of 10. And there we go. This should be 3, sorry, not 2. Okay, so grid columns 3, so 1 2 3. Fantastic. And then the additional notes, this one can just remain like this because you'd want to have quite a bit of space to write this. And okay, now what I want to do is I want to add a bit more margin on certain sections, such as this section right here on the invoice number. So let me just go on this article. Let me say that for empty screens, then the margin top should be 20. Push it away like that, and then let's go inside client name probably. Let's go here. Let's say for empty screens, then the margin top should be 20 as well. Let me see how this looks. Let's set it to 16. Not really that much of a difference, but then just so that it brings a kind of hierarchy where you can tell that all of this information is for one person, right? This is for one section. This is the other section. So what I can do instead is I can remove this. Yeah, I think I can remove that. This looks much better in before I get flamed in the comment section, but that's okay. So we have this, so we can preview invoice, and this is how our invoice looks. Yeah, I think this is a much better looking form. This is much better. So now once we have this, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and begin creating our table, right? And our table component is, where is it? It should be right here. So this is our table. This is the table, right? Which shows right here. Okay, so let's begin just creating it. So I'm going to remove all of this, and I'm going to add the table tag like so, and then I'm going to say t head, and then t head takes in table row, and table row is going to say table details. This first one is going to say description, or let's say item description. Okay, and then the next table row is going to say table details, and it's going to be quantity. What is it? Quantity, like so. And then the third, wait a minute, what am I doing? Is it table row? We're going to find out in a moment. So quantity, and then let's say price, and then the final one is going to say amount. Let's save this. Let's see. Okay, so I'm doing this wrong. This should be T head, I think. Is it T head? Can't even remember. Okay, there we go. So it's table head. And actually, you know what? Tables have a nasty habit of behaving in HTML. And this is it right here. So it says TD cannot appear as a child of TH. What? TD cannot appear as a child of TH. TD cannot appear as a child of TH. So let's remove this. Let me see something. And it doesn't seem to have that error. Okay, so when I reload, I'm going to have to fill in the form. And just to avoid all this, what I'm going to do, because I don't want to keep on filling this form over and over again, right? Just to avoid all this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside my app.js, and I'm just going to fill in this form. And actually, you know what? I'm going to turn this into true as well. Okay, so that the invoice is going to show by default. And then I'm going to fill in this form just with some default value so that we're also always going to have something on the screen, right? Because if I try to submit the form without filling in anything, then we have an empty thing right here, right? So let's go here. Let's just say okay, so this is the dummy data that I've added, and I'm just going to save this. And now every time that we can just view our form, it's going to be filled in, of course, because we have now added some default values. But I can also preview the invoice, and now we're also always going to have something to view our invoice in, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is let's see. So if I reload this, then it says th cannot appear as a child of t head. This is the reason why I hate dealing with tables. I really do. Oh, you know what I'm doing wrong. What I'm doing wrong is this. This should be table row, right? And then we should have table details. So this is going to be description. And then the next one, just copy this down. Quantity, price, and then it's going to be the amount. So save this, and we shouldn't be having this error now. And there we go. Fantastic. So we have description, quantity, price, and amount. And then actually, you know what? Let me give this table a width of 100% so that it goes all the way to the end. And there we go. Now we can close this. I really hate dealing with tables for this particular reason, because they're just annoying. And then below this, we're going to have a table body. So the body of the table. We're going to have a table row again, and then TD. Just copy this down a few more times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Description, let me say some really long description. And then this is going to be quantity, let's say 20. And then price, let's say 500. Amount, what is 20 times 5? This is 1, 2, 3. Okay. So this is how our table is going to look like. And just to style it out a bit, what I want to do is inside this tier, let me give this a class name of bg gray-400. What did I have here? Was this 300 or what? Just to maintain a semblance of uniformity. 100. Yeah, so it was 100, just the same shade of background as this one right here on the invoice date. And then let's say padding on the y of 1. Actually, not padding all around of 1. What am I doing? Oh, you know what? This doesn't respond to this, right? It doesn't respond to padding, does it? Yeah, it doesn't. So let's make this a block element. There we go. And now that we've made it a block element, now this doesn't apply. I really hate tables, man. I hate tables. Okay, we're just going to leave it at that. And now what we're going to do is we need 4 more state values. 1 for the description, 1 for quantity, 1 for price, 1 for amount. And then we need to pass them down once again as props into this table component, which we are then going to access and display them dynamically here. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do actually is I want to add a bit more margin on this on the bottom of the table, so that actually, no, let me go on the top of the notes component. So notes component should be here. Let's say margin bottom 5, let's say margin top of 20. Push it away from this table. Let's say margin top of 10. 20 is too much. Okay. And then actually I've just remembered that I also didn't add margin at the top of this and this. but you can't really tell because they are on the opposite sides of the screen, but that's okay. Now let's create our table form, because we know we also need our table form, right? So let's go inside app.js, and then at the top we're going to add a bit more state values. So let's say const description and set description is going to be use state. By default it's an empty string, and then we're going to say const quantity and set quantity. This is equal to use state. By default it's an empty string, and then const, let's say, what is the next one, price, and set price is equal to use state. By default it's an empty string, and then finally const amount and set amount is equal to use state. By default it's an empty string. Now because I don't want to make the video all that long, what I want to do is I'm going to stop it right here, because this table is going to take quite a bit of time to set up and to actually access all of these. So I'm going to do that in the next video. Okay, so if this is the end of the video, then please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and if it is not, then let's continue. So once we have this, let's go ahead into the bottom where our table should be, and I want our table, let me just check this form. I want our table to appear below this, right? I want it to appear below our invoice. So I'm going to go to the bottom right here. Okay, let me place a comment that says this is our table form. Okay, and then inside here I'm going to render an article. Okay, and inside this article I'm going to render a component called table form, like so. Okay, I'm doing it like this because this form is becoming really huge to manage, and then I'm going to create this component. So let's go ahead and create a component called table form.js, like so. Let's say underscore RFC, and then let's have that. And then what I'm going to do is I need this to be imported inside here. So just make sure that it's imported from components table form. Okay, fantastic. So let's save this, and then let's go ahead inside our table form, and then let's create what we call a label. This is label for description that says item description, and then this is going to be an input with a type of text with a name of description. Just copy this, paste it inside here with a placeholder that says item description. Okay, the value for this is going to be the description, right? The state value that we just created. So description, and then on change. So on the on change handler for this, we're going to be accessing the e event, and we're going to say set description into e.target.value. Okay, now let's pass in the description and set description as props, these two state values, right? Let's go ahead into table form, which is right here, and we're going to say description. I can type description. So description prop is going to be equal to the description state value, and then set description prop is going to be equal to the set description function, like so. So save this, and then we can grab these two, and then we can destructure them as props inside here, like so. And remember to place a comma, and we're going to have this. So I'm going to set what is this, wrong spelling, there we go. So I'm going to save this, and then let's just see what we have on the screen, and we should have this. Look at that. So we have item description. Now what I want to do is grab this and place it inside a div, like so, and then give this div a class name of flex and flex dash color. And there we go. So look at that, looking fantastic. Now once we have this, then I just want to pass in, let's see, how do we pass in? I want to pass in the description that we type in, and I want it to display inside our table. So I want it to display inside here, right? Okay, so we can do that by doing this. We can go into app.js, and then we can find out where we have our table, and inside our table we can set a prop called description and set it equal to the description state value, like so. And then inside our table we can destructure the description description like so. And then what I'm going to do is right inside here, we're going to be rendering out the description that we type in. Okay, so let's save this and hopefully this is going to work. Okay, so let's just preview invoice, right? So the description is not showing because we haven't typed in anything. But when you go back to edit information, we can say this is an item description. Preview invoice, and look at that, looking amazing. So we need to do that 3 more times. Okay, so let's go into table form, and then we're going to grab this. So copy this, paste it out 1 2 3. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is where inside here, this is going to say quantity. What is wrong with me typing today? Quantity. There you go. And then change all of this into quantity, like so. This is a capital Q. Okay, item quantity. Let's change this into just quantity. Okay, they grab all of these. These are going to be price. This is a capital P of price. This is just going to say price, and this as well is just going to say price. Okay, so price, this should be fine. And then finally for this is just going to say amount, and then let's grab all of this and say amount, and then change this into a capital A, so set amount. So save this, and then what we're going to do is we now need to get all of these the state values as well as the functions and destructure them inside here, because now we should have an error on the screen, and this is correct. So let's go inside here, let's go back into our table form, which is right here, and then probably, let me just copy this down. So copy this 1 2 3, and then grab this. This is going to say quantity. This is going to say set quantity, like so. This is going to say price. This is going to say set price, and then finally this is going to say amount, and then this is going to say set amount. Okay, fantastic. And we just need to grab all of this, so let's just copy and paste. Copy this and save this as well, and then let's go inside here. Not inside here, but inside our table form, and then let's just paste it here. Okay, now we just need to remove all of these brackets. So remove these brackets, and then remove these brackets as well. Not the last one. The last one is the closing bracket for this one. And then we need to say we only need one of these. Okay, so just remove this and remove this. So 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3. And then we just need to add our commas, and there we go. So we are destructuring all our state values inside here, and we're destructuring them as props. Okay, so that now we can actually pass them down inside here. So let's save this, and then let's see. Why isn't this changing? Oh, it's not changing because we had coded it inside here. So we need to get the quantity, the price, and the amount. Okay, so inside here, this second one should say quantity, this third one should say amount, no, price, and then finally this last one should say amount. Okay, so let's save this, and we should see nothing on the screen, right? So let's go back inside here and let's edit this out. Not edit really, but style it out. Okay, so how are we going to do this? By the way, so item description, I can say the quantity, price, and amount can stay in one line, right? They can stay in one line because they don't really take in too many values. So the quantity, price, and amount, let me grab all of this up to here, cut it out, place it inside a div like so, and then go on the top of this div, give this a class name of MD, so MD grid, and grid that's columns 3 with a gap of 10 to maintain everything, and we have that. And then let's say for MD screens, the margin at the top should be what did I have, 16 if I remember correctly. There we go. So quantity, price, and amount, item description. So wait, what am I doing? This is wrong. This shouldn't be here. This should be on top of this. It should be on the top of this. Just for M this one, let's imagine top 16. There we go. So item description, there's an item description, quantity, price, and amount. So quantity, let's just say 50. The price, let's just say 500 or 5,000. The amount, oh, you know what? This is wrong, because we don't want to be able to edit the amount. Instead, we want the amount to come from what we have inside here. So we should be able to calculate it. But for now, let's just say 25, 1, 2, 3, 4, because that's the amount that we have when we multiply these two. So preview invoice. Something's wrong. Something is wrong. So quantity, price, amount, why isn't it showing? Oh, it's not showing because once again we need to go back into our table. We need to go back into our table. Inside here we need to destructure the quantity. So quantity prop is equal to quantity state value. Quantity state value, like so. Not like so. I can't type today. What is happening? And then the price prop is equal to the price state value. Okay, and then the amount prop is equal to the amount state value. Now we should see it. There we go. There we go, looking fantastic. Now what I want to do is I want to just grab these four items and make them bold so that they have a bit of hierarchy between these two items. So let's go inside table form. Sorry, not table form, but inside table. Let's grab this first one, second, third, and fourth. Give this a class name of font dashboard. Just make them a bit bold. Let's say, actually, you know what, that's fine. Actually, that is actually fine. Okay, now what we need to do next is we need to create our function to calculate the amount, right? So let's create our function to calculate the amount. And how are we going to do that? So we need to access how do we do that? Actually, we need to check the value that we type in, the quantity, and multiply it by the price, right? So that would mean that because we don't want to be able to change the input manually, the amount manually, right? Because this will lead to fraud. Actually, we don't want to be able to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all this. I'm going to remove the input, actually, only the input, and then I'm going to render a paragraph that says the amount. Let me see how this looks. So amount is equal to this. So we can't change this first of all. And then the next that we need to do is we need to create a function to calculate amount, right? So right below this, let's create a function called calculate amount. Calculate amount. This is going to take in the amount as a parameter, and then we're just going to say set amount into price times quantity. Actually, which one comes first? Quantity. Quantity is our first state value, right? Yeah, so let's do quantity times price. Quantity times price. Okay. And then inside here, instead of just rendering the amount, we can say calculate amount and then pass in the amount. And that should do it, right? So let's save this. And let's see. So quantity equals to this. Let's say 50. And does it calculate the amount? Let's preview. Okay, you know what? This is that doesn't show anything. So let's change it into 250. What is 250? This is about 125. So 125 should be what we expect. There we go. Okay, so it's calculated the amount, right? So 125, and that is okay. That is fantastic. And actually, now let's just check if we have any errors. Specified value doesn't really. These are, don't worry about this. These two, don't worry about them because I just hard coded the values. So this one says what? Let me zoom in. It says cannot update a component while rendering a different component. Cannot update component app. So it's trying to update the app while rendering a different component table form. To look at, there's a bad set state. What does this mean? Cannot update a component app while rendering a different component table form. So trying to update app while rendering a different component. Is it because of this? Is it because of this? Let's see. Let's see if it's because of this. Let's see. It's actually because of the calculate amount. Let's just reload to make sure. Let's just reload. Let's add in something inside here. Let's add in quantity 40, price 400. Okay, it's actually because of the calculate amount function. So if you pass in calculate amount and then pass in the amount, then we get the error, right? Okay. So this means, let me show you how to fix this. What's happening is that this is going to calculate the amount every time that we have a different input, right? So in order to fix this, then we need to wrap it inside a use effect call. So let's say import use effect from React, and then let's just grab this and say use effect, and then pass it inside here, and then make sure that it only runs on the initial render. So calculate amount by the amount, and then now, wait a minute, does this actually work? Let's say calculate amount by the amount, like so, and then let's render. Now instead of rendering all of this, let's just render the amount. That should work. I hope it works. So let's try it again. Let's open our console to make sure we don't have any errors. Okay, so React Hook has a missing dependency amount, amount, price, quantity, and set amount. Okay, we're going to fix that in a moment. So let's just try it out. Let's say quantity 600, price 1600, item something. Let's preview this. Amount is 0. Oh, wait a minute. Then that would mean that I still have to pass in the calculate amount inside here. So calculate amount, pass in the amount. Is not defined. Oh my goodness, what is happening? What is happening? Let's pass in the amount inside here. We need to pass in the price, quantity, and set amount as well. Okay, so that warning goes away. And then why isn't this why isn't this now calculating? Why aren't you calculating? Okay, so the amount shows here. Wait a minute. The amount shows 600 by 16, right? Look at that. Now it's going to update every time that the price changes, right? Right. But why aren't you showing on the invoice? Oh my god. Now what was the error, surely? Like, what was the error, React? Can be annoying sometimes. Anyway, so now that we have that fixed, then the next thing that we need to do is we need to be able to pass in items in our table, right? And I think I created a state value in app.js. I created a state value called list. No, I didn't create it, but that's okay. We can create it. So we're going to create a list and set list. And this is going to be the only different state value. So use state, and it's going to be an empty array instead of an empty string. Okay. So we have list and set list. Now what we need to do is, let me save this first of all, and then let's go inside here. What did I change? I need to save this, right? And so what I'm going to do, because we need to add our list inside here, which comes from the table form. Okay, so for the table form, we need to be able to submit all of this so that we can create a new list, right? So let's grab all of this, cut it out, and place it inside a form. What is it? I can't type today. So form, and then just paste this in, and then on the form we're going to have an on submit. event, and we are just going to say handle submit. Okay, so we're going to say handle submit, that we have that. And then on the bottom right here, we're going to have a button that says add item, like so. And then on click, do we need an on click? No, not an on click, but button type submit. Okay, so that this is going to trigger the submit event on the form as well. So we're going to save, actually before we save this, because it's going to throw us an error, let's create this handle submit function. So above the use effect here, we're going to say const handle submit, and we're going to pass in our event of e, and then we're going to say e.prevent default, so that the form doesn't refresh the page every time that we submit it. So let's just save this and let's see what we have. So we should have add item here, and where is our input? Oh, wait a minute, this is our input. What am I doing? Okay, oops. Okay, so this is what we have. Now, being that we have this, then the next that we should do is go inside this button, and let me style this button the same way that we have this button on the bottom. So let's go inside app.js, and the button should be this one right here. So copy this, and inside here, let me paste this inside here. We have that. We can remove the margin top, and actually can add margin bottom of 5 to push it away from this. There we go. So add item, or let me say, instead of add item, let's say add table item. Right, so I think it's a bit more descriptive, right? So add table item, meaning add this item that you just filled in, right? Okay, so how do we do this now? So let's go ahead and inside our table form, because this is almost like creating a to-do list, right? So we're going to say that const new items equals to an object, and this object is going to have an ID of UUID v4. Did I actually install this? Let me just check. Package JSON UUID. Okay, I installed it. I think we installed it in the first video, right? If you have not installed it, then you can just say npm install UUID in your terminal, right? So in your terminal, you can just say, you can say npm install UUID and let this run, and it should install UUID for you. Okay, now let's close this out, and then let's import this at the top. So we're going to say import v4 as UUID v4 from UUID, right? And the purpose of UUID is just to generate unique IDs for every time that we are going to be submitting the forms, that it doesn't clash out, you know, it doesn't throw you an error in the console. So we're going to create an ID UUID v4, and then we are going to need a description. We're going to need a new description, which is going to come from description, like so. And I'm doing this on purpose. I know some of you already know that we can remove this, but I'm doing this on purpose. So this is set description, and then we're going to need quantity, which is coming from quantity, right? And then we're going to need price, which is coming from price, and then we're going to need the amount, which is coming from amount. Okay, and then once we have this, then we can say set description back to an empty string. We can say set quantity, and we can set it back to an empty string. We can set price back to an empty string, and we can set amount back to an empty string. And then we can say once we have this, we can say set list, which we actually don't have in this component, right? We actually don't have in this component, so we need to get it. But inside here, we're going to say set list into dot list, so get all the items that are already in the list, and then pass in the new items. Okay, so inside here, we're going to let's grab this set list first of all before we save it. Set list, which is coming from here, we need to pass it inside our table form, and our table form is right here. So set list prop is equal to set list function, and then the list prop is equal to the list state value, and then let's destructure it at the top. We need to destructure the list and set list, like so. So this is the spread operator, which means basically that if there are already items in the list, then grab all of them and then add in the new items, and then if there are no items, then we're just going to pass in the new items. So once we have this, this is going to trigger on the submit, on the when we try and submit the form. So will this actually work? We're going to find out in a moment. So let's save this and let's check we have no errors. Okay, we have no errors, but then actually, you know what, just to check whether it works, let's say below this, let's say console.log the list. Okay, does it show anything? It doesn't show anything. So item description, let's say some item, quantity is going to be 1, price is going to be 400, add a table item, and there we go. So we have an array of length 0 and let's say list dot console log list dot description. Oops, description. Let me see how that would work. Something for 400, add item, undefined. It is undefined. But you can tell that we can tell that our submit function is actually working because this is going back to an empty string, right? Every time that we click on this add table item, then this resets to an empty string. So that is working correctly. And you know what? Let's preview this. And we have nothing. Okay, so why is this undefined? Why is it undefined? Why is it undefined? And let me talk about what I mentioned earlier, where in JavaScript from, I think it was from year 6, where if you try to access a value that has the same name as the key, right, then you can just remove this. You can just remove the first item and you can just say description, and instead you can just say quantity, you can just say price, you can just say amount, like so. And say, wait a minute, is there a list dot description? Come to think of it, is there a list dot description? I don't think there is, right? I don't think there is. So let's try and submit this again. So some item description, quantity 5, price 400, add table item. Okay, there we go. So we have this. Now we have our unique ID. So we have description being some item, we have our unique ID, we have the price, we have the quantity, and then we have our another item, something, we have the price, we have the quantity. Looking amazing, and actually have the amount as well. Look at that. Okay, so now that we can console log the items that we pass in, then our next boon would be to display them on the screen. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead into our table. Is it our table? Now, wait a minute. Let's try and preview this. What do we get? We get nothing. Why do we get nothing? Why do we get nothing actually? Because this should be passing down. This should be passing down inside here, description, quantity, price, amount. Why do we actually get nothing? I really can't tell. I really can't tell why we get nothing inside here. But let's just put that on hold first, and then let's begin displaying our items. So our items are going to be displayed below this button. Okay, we're going to be displaying them first of all below this button before we preview our invoice, because we want to give people the option to edit and to remove items, right? So let's go ahead, let's go inside below this, actually not inside, actually not outside the form. Let's go outside the form, and then let me place a comment that says table items, like so. And then inside here we're going to have a div, or rather a section, and then inside this section we're going to say list.map, and then for every let me just destructure right away. I'm going to destruct the ID, the description, and we're going to destructure the quantity, the price, and the amount, right? And then and then let's return right away by returning an list item, with the key of ID. That's actually wrong. That is actually wrong. Let's return a UL. Actually, you know what? This shouldn't be it. What am I doing? This section should be a UL. And then we're going to be returning a list item with a key of ID. ID. Like so. This one is going to say description. So description. And then because we can only return one item, we're going to cut all of this out and place a fragment like so. So description, then the next one is going to be quantity, price, and amount. So quantity, price, and amount. Let me see how that looks. Okay, so we have one encountered two children in the same, really. So let's move that. Let's resubmit this. So item description something, and then let's change quantity into 4, price into 400, add table item. Oops, this shouldn't be correct. This is actually, all of this is wrong. What am I doing? All of this is wrong. Now that because the fragment is the only is what we're going to be returning, then inside here we're going to return react dot fragment, right? Because basically this is the long name of the angle brackets that return, and then this is going to have a key of ID. And do I have react imported at the top? I don't. So let's import react like so. Otherwise this is going to throw an error. So let's save this, and now we shouldn't have this error. So let's remove that. Let's check it out once again. Item description, some item, quantity 4, price 400, add table item. There we go. So we don't have any errors. But then again, we get an array which is empty, length 0. Let's add another item, quantity 300 or 30, price 3000, add item. Okay, so we have this, we have this. Why isn't the first one showing? I'm only seeing the second one. I'm only seeing this one. I'm not seeing the first one. Why isn't the first one showing? Why isn't the first one showing? Interesting. Very interesting. So let's tile this out. Let's tile this out, where we're going to say react.fragment is equal to this, and then let's inside here, let's say class name of flex, and this won't work. Oh, it does work. Okay. And that is not what I want actually. Styling this out is quite a bit hard, and it's taking a toll on my brain. So let's see, react.fragment key is equal to this. Can we style we can't style a component. We can't add custom class names to a component, can we? Let's try class name flex. Can we? Yeah, we can't. So what we need to do therefore is, instead of returning this, description quantity. What is happening? What is happening? Why can't I visualize this? Okay, so let's do this. So let's say description. And type, oh my goodness, I don't know how many times I've said that today. Quantity, this is going to say price, and then finally this is going to say amount. Can't even spell this. Okay, description quantity amount, description quantity price amount. Okay, so that would mean, you know what I'm doing? I'm actually doing this wrong. You know what I would do instead is I would just copy this table. So let's just copy this table, and then here, and then inside here, let's paste this inside here, and then let's move the table above, and then let's remove this UL, and then remove this UL, and then move this table tag below. Close it out. And then inside here, we're going to have a fragment. So cut this out. Let's return react.fragment. Of course, open and close it out. React.fragment. And then now we can paste this in. And then this is going to have a key of ID. Okay. So let's save this. Let's see what we have. There we go. But then this, we don't want this to be showing multiple times, right? We don't want this to be showing multiple times. What is it saying? Oh, that's okay. So what we would do therefore was probably something like grab all of this and push it upwards. Would that work? And there we go. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? It thought it was clever, but I am cleverer. Okay. Now what we need to do is this. Therefore, I want to go inside table body. Okay, I want to go inside table body, and then I want to go inside the TR and inside the TD, and I want to check that for every second item, then I want this background, this gray background color. Okay, but for now what we can do is just give this table a class name of margin bottom of 10, push it away from this. Okay, so let's try and add another item. So item description, add item, let's say quantity 5, let's say price 840. Add item. Okay. Oh, and this is now correct. So we have 3 items. We have a list item, we have an array of, wait, why isn't the first item not showing? I'm really curious about that. Let's preview invoice, and when we preview invoice, we don't see the invoice, we don't see our table. Why don't we see our table? Why do we not see our table? Function table. Is it because we don't have the list? We don't have the list inside the table. So list and set, list is equal to list, and then set list is equal to set list. Don't do that. Set list. And then now what we need to do is basically the same thing that we did inside our table form. So instead of typing out all that again, so let me just copy this, and then we can paste it inside here. And then probably we can remove this. Do we need this class name of? I'm not sure. So list.map. So that would mean that we don't need all of this, do we? List. Does this work? Let's save and hope it works. React is not defined. Import React at the top. So import React from React. So let's test this out once again. So we have items here. Let's preview. Yes, it works, guys. It works. Okay, so there we go. So we have this, and this working correctly. Fantastic. Looking amazing. Now we need to add our edit button and our delete button, but I don't want to do that now because I'm really tired, and I'm going to do that in the next video. So bye bye.